since we started touching on it already, let's go ahead and move on and talk about 400 Days, the DLC. I kind of
Alrighty.
wanted to go through each character individually because I'm hoping that we'll end up seeing them again in the next season. But I'm gonna go chronologically here. So we're gonna start with Vince, which is I think
The
he's an
prison, the
he's
prisoner.
yeah, the Asian. I think he's Asian prisoner guy. Um, One of the things about that story that I'm curious about, and I don't know if it necessarily matters, but I'm
Hmm.
hoping it does, is what exactly was the deal with his brother? Because he killed someone to protect his brother, but they never touch on why. And I don't know if any of you guys had any thoughts about that, but or think it'll play a role at all in the next
I
season.
I
Well,
actually I actually like when they don't tell the whole story. Just like they
Hmm.
didn't tell the story about Lee and who he murdered and who his wife was.
Yeah, they never really did.
Just like fill in the blanks yourself.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So for me, it wouldn't really matter if they didn't bring it up again. I think it's a good, nice choice.
Kathleen, go ahead.
well, I almost think that when I first saw it, I thought that he killed that guy because the guy hurt his brother.
Hmm.
Because he said, "I don't even know him," blah blah blah. Like I guess he accused him of.
Hmm.
So who knows if the guy he even shot was guilty of what he said he did? I don't know,
Hmm.
but yeah.
I'm hoping we'll run into his brother,
Hmm.
maybe. I think that would be really interesting if they. I guess as a whole, I'm hoping that whatever they end up doing with the 400 Days characters in season two is going to flesh them out a little bit more, instead of just having them make a cameo appearance in the background and then that's kind of it. So
I, I I forget. Do we ever learn what his brother's name was?
no,
Hmm.
I don't think we do. I don't think any of the choices do.
Hmm.
Um, how did you guys end up handling the major decision at the end of Vince's story, whether to shoot Justin or I forgot the
Danny.
other Danny. Was it
Danny.
Danny? Okay.
Yeah, it was Danny.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Danny was the schemer, right? The money person.
I
No, no,
thought
I,
that was
Justin,
just Danny was the rapist.
Jenny.
Oh, okay.
That's therapist, not
Wait, therapist? Oh, my
therapist.
bad. I totally went bad. My bad.
Sorry. Yeah,
I
Justin was
went.
the Justin was the
No,
pyramid guy. Yes.
no, no, yeah, but no, but Danny said he was caught and arrested for raping a young
He was
girl.
arrested for raping. Danny claims that he was innocent. So it's up to you to decide whether he's lying or not. But
Yeah, I really regretted this, but I ended up taking Danny with me. I shot the other guy because I just I was so like this was the first one I played, so I
mm.
was just so in the moment, and I was like, oh, I just gotta shoot one of them, and I just shot. I just didn't even think about who I shot, and then I was like, oh
Ah.
crap, I'm stuck with the rapist. So
Oh no, oh no, yeah, oh no, I shot Danny because when I held the gun up to Danny, he actually like looked at me and said that, and actually at one point admitted that he had done bad things in his past. I was like, yep,
Ah.
oh, I
Okay.
confirmed.
should have shot him.
He was not innocent.
Gotcha.
But I'm not trying. Again, I'm not in this whole thing. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad about their decisions.
Oh no, not at all.
We all- The
Actually,
way
I
that
think he said, I think it's his alleged child molester. He said that they were in love and that it was like with consent, I believe.
mm.
But you know, he
Then I
probably,
think, yeah.
yeah. And then you have these scam artists who have tricked a lot of people,
Mhm.
Yeah.
who probably
Yeah, but at
ruined
the
a
same
whole lot.
time, he could, I mean, he still could have abused his girlfriend,
He could
so
have.
that might
Yeah.
have been what happened. It might have been a girl he was dating, so.
Mhm.
I think she was underage.
Well, then,
That's why he was sent to jail.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Anyway,
they said it was a young girl.
yeah. My choice, there was no good choice in this.
Yeah.
No,
I
yeah.
didn't know what to do, so I just chose Danny over Justin.
I thought that it was really interesting how they presented those characters because I think they were really trying to push, even though I think a lot of people, I guess it depends on who you are, but a lot of people provide more weight on the possible rapist, like the crime of rape, a little bit
Mhm.
more than the pyramid scheme where he was basically stealing money from people. But at the same time, with Danny, I think they were trying to make it a point to emphasize that he has a moral code, some sort of moral code. Because he had issues with somebody lying on the stand, and he wanted to try to help the one guy who, was being strangled, and Justin was like, just forget about him. So I think with me, I ended up choosing Danny over Justin just because, yes, he may have definitely committed a very bad crime, but I was looking for someone who I thought I could depend on, that I could rely on, and as long as I wasn't an underage girl, which Vince wasn't, I don't think he had to worry as much about his past, especially at least for that specific situation. Now, if they ended up running into other women, which they end up doing, then I'd be a little bit more concerned. But if it was at that moment, if it was just Vince and that guy, I think I was willing to take Danny over Justin purely because of that.
Yeah.
I guess I love. No, you first, Kathleen. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like what you said. It was a hard decision either way. It doesn't seem like there was any good decision there because the one guy, he didn't seem to have a moral conscience, and the other guy had committed a very bad crime, but he seemed really upset about what he'd done. So
yeah, he felt
like, yeah.
Shali, who, by the way, guys, Shali was supposed to join us today, and I'm interjecting her points only because she was supposed to be here. But I thought she made a very good point in her LP where she said that the fact that Justin had no remorse whatsoever with what he had done, and Danny actually did feel genuinely sorry for bad things that he's done in his life, and it was purely based on that she made her decision to choose Danny over Justin. So
yeah.
Moving on to Wyatt, the only question that I had on my mind again was what exactly happened between them and the people that were chasing them. Was Nathaniel? I know Nathaniel ended up chasing them, but maybe Nathaniel was part of a group. It sounded like they said several people, so I felt like it was Nathaniel and other people that they ended up running into a problem with, and I kind of was curious about that. But then again, maybe it's nothing important in season 2.
Nathaniel was the guy in the truck.
Correct. Nathaniel was the guy who's in the truck who we end up meeting again with Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he was. Yeah.
I thought that the rock paper scissors decision, it wasn't really a decision.
Oh no, it was.
Which you can tell because when they bring up the results, 50% ended up staying in the car, 50 because rock paper scissors essentially becomes a 50% probability anyway.
But I really liked that whole scene with Wyatt and Eddie because they play so well off each other, and I got this Quentin Tarantino vibe almost. It was so surreal.
It was very different from the other 4 in that I think, compared to the other 4, it was more of the comic relief short story, their banter and all that. Were you going to say?
I felt bad that.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I just felt bad that when he ended up abandoning him in the end, though.
Kathleen, were going to say something? Add something to that?
No, I'm just glad they didn't find the weed because that would have been even worse if they were high and trying to run from those people.
Then they really be going the extra mile with that comic relief bit.
I actually feel good that I didn't know what he was talking about when he says find a sticky in the glove, whatever he called it. And I was like, I was afraid as to what he was referring to. And then when they finally said marijuana, I was like, okay, it could have been worse. It could have been something.
They're being
much
honest.
worse.
Don't do drugs in a zombie apocalypse, kids. It lowers your chance of survival.
Exactly. What is it? Just like, what is it? Don't have sex in a horror movie because you'll be the one who dies next or something like that. I think they did that in Scary Movie.
Or if you're a woman, never take off your shirt because in old horror movies that instantly meant, well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Scream.
With Russell's story, the whole scene at the end was, I knew what was going to happen, but at the same time, it was just a powerful scene in that um, regardless of whether or not you walk away from what ends up happening, he still does what he does to that couple.
Did you walk away?
I did. I mean, I couldn't stand Nathaniel from the very beginning. I was trying to get away from him as early as I could. But I have a sinking feeling that we're gonna see him again in season 2. I have a very sinking feeling because he's such a. I think that as villains, he's not really a villain, but as. Go ahead.
Was Nathaniel the one in the truck
Yes.
that picked up that teenager?
Yes, Russell.
Yeah,
yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Oh man, he was funny though.
He was.
That sucks.
But I think he is going to be like our crazy, unstable, aggressive person if he does
I
return in
hope he
season
does
2.
stick around though, because I like when a villain has a sense of humor. So.
Oh, yeah, like Loki and all that. Like they're just good villains are not necessarily good they're not necessarily good characters, but they're really cool good character types to play off of.
Yeah, a good villain. He's definitely a good villain in that. I think he's a villain you love to hate.
Yeah.
And I think that he was a very well designed character in my opinion, and I thought that he would lend himself well to continue on to make an appearance at some point in season 2. How about you, David?
Yeah, I totally agree. He did a good job portraying, how people might take advantage of the apocalypse. He's an opportunist. He sees this like a clean slate, and he can do whatever he wants. And those people are always dangerous.
Opportunist. I never thought of that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly the best way to describe his, I guess,
his motivation.
His motivation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. With Bonnie,
Well, instantly the minute the episode starts up, we're already being thrown right into drama and a huge.
Well, what I really loved about the way they set up the beginning of Bonnie's story is that it tricks you. At least it did for me. It tricked me into basically establishing this affair that he was having with his wife, because I thought that
Leland or whatever.
They were in the early. Yes, I thought that Leland was single, and you're basically choosing choices where you could decide to flirt with him or not to flirt with him. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll flirt with him, sure. I can see a budding relationship happening between those two. And then as soon as, oh gosh, the wife, I forgot her name.
But D.
As soon as D appears and she wraps her arm around his, I was like, oh my gosh, bravo game. I applauded the game at that point. I was like, that was genius, because I did not see that coming. And because in real life, I'm very anti, promiscuous. Like I hate it when people cheat on their loved ones, and just the fact that the game tricked me into doing it,
doing that,
made me feel like, yes, very good.
Telltale people.
This was actually my favorite, my favorite little section, because they tricked you, and because I think of that's the thing about this game, is that you think you're such a moral person, but then it tricks you into these moments where you realize that you're not as moral as you think you are.
Right.
I think I'm this like hardcore monogamous person. But then I even after that happened, when her wife walks in, I'm like, you know what? I don't really care if they have an affair. They seem like they get along well, and I'm just like, wait, what's wrong with me? I'm so horrible.
Well, no, it's just that playful side, that experimentation of it's a game. I can try to do something a little bit different, which I felt that actually all 400 Days did that to me. Where I guess again trying to find my choice for saving Denny. Really big backs. I'm sorry, I'm moving backwards.
No, that's okay. You can finish your thought.
Whereas Walking Dead Season 1, I was trying to stay very well grounded with how I wanted Lee to be. I saw 400 Days as a chance to experiment and try different character types, seeing if that would work, trying to explore the other different parts and decisions I could make. I felt. Mm-hmm. This just got awkward. I'm going to change the subject. Okay. So,
Kathleen, well, to piggyback off of you, Kathleen, I know exactly what you mean about, I always thought of myself as being a very, moral person, and here I am. As soon as Doug dies, I jump in and have Omid be my rebound, romance. So,
I
Do you guys think that the couple at the end of season 1 might be Bonnie and Leland?
Well, no, because there's a choice in 400 Days. I learned after the fact there's a choice that there's a choice that could end up with Leland dead.
oh
Oh.
really?
Yeah,
Oh.
I
Wow.
actually learned about it after the fact.
I did not know
was
that.
That if you lie to him, or I saw some playthrough, I was like, hey, how did this person do? There's an option where at some point Leland will actually decide to stay behind and not follow Bonnie, and then as you're walking away, you just hear a gunshot.
I
And
did not-
You don't see it, but you hear a gunshot as she's running away from.
I
the other
did not
guys.
know that. I don't think I've seen
Cool.
that in any other LP. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Wow.
So I don't know. So yeah, judging off of that, I don't think Leland could be involved since.
Yeah,
His-
I hear you.
What I think is, but you bring up a good point, because before I heard about Leland possibly
Yeah,
dying, I actually thought that of all of the characters, Bonnie and Leland would be the best choice for that, because unlike the other four, Bonnie automatically goes with Tavia. No matter what we do, she always says yes. So I'm assuming that the Telltale has very specific plans for Bonnie's character, because she always ends up going with Tavia. But that's a pretty cool theory, though, Dave. Because even if, because I was thinking, even if that event easily could have happened before Bonnie ends up with the other four survivors.
Yeah.
So, when you the end of Bonnie's story, when you end up hitting D with the with the pipe or whatever it is that she picks up.
Yeah.
Again, like I think I have to agree with Kathleen, and that was probably my favorite story because of the way it started, and also because of the way it ended. Because you really feel like an awful person. Awful.
Well, you told the
awful
truth to
person.
him. Well, I assume you told the truth to him.
I did. But
I didn't.
you didn't.
I lied.
You horrible person.
Oh, I just found her like this.
Horrible.
A pipe. What? I didn't do anything.
Yeah. I figured it was the perfect opportunity for them to get together. So.
You matchmaker, you.
There you go.
Opportunist here.
That's true. We've got an
Full
opportunist.
circle. There we go.
I don't remember.
No,
what...
it's gonna come back to bite me because he's gonna find out at some point and then get really mad at her. So.
I forgot what.
Oh yeah, wait. Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Logan.
No, wait. You finish your. You finish your thought. You finish your thought because mine was just an independent epiphany.
I was gonna tell David I forgot what he ended up doing with Leland as far as telling the truth or not telling the truth. I
Telling
thought
the
you
truth,
you
yeah.
did tell. I mean, I would think you would, given your specific code. I think
Yeah.
when you play the game, so I think
Yeah.
you would.
What I do often is that I project myself into the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't role play the characters. I act like I would be there, and I'm not a big fan of lying. So
So in real life,
I live with it.
So in real life, David, you prefer lobster claws over a snake tongue.
Totally.
Just so we're clear,
I picked both.
you picked you
How about-
both.
Why not both? But no, I just realized the epitome was. Maybe I have no position to say whether or not Leland could or could not be one of the people in season 2, because that was the whole thing, was that your choices in 400 Days in season 1 would change how things go in season 2. So maybe that's why the two figures are left so promiscuous.
That's
or
true.
left so vague, is so that it'll take those two figures and input in whatever
That's true.
whatever situation could arise scenario from what
Mhm.
you chose to do in those games. So who knows? Maybe we will see Leland.
I would love for them to do that if they do, to make it that different. So, and then we come to Shell, which was the longest story out of the 5. Shell had a very interesting decision, because it was the whole theme. The theme behind Shell's story was survival versus losing oneself. and being the kind of person who I tend to be when I make choices, without a shadow of doubt, I personally chose to let the guy go. And then, bam, it hits you with, oh, we got attacked. Now,
Yeah.
granted, it's not, that doesn't necessarily mean that we got attacked because we let that guy go. It doesn't mean that those things necessarily are related, but the game was implying it, and I still felt bad. So, that was rough for me because it was just a reality check that just because I might have good intentions, it doesn't always mean that it's the right choice to make.
Well, yeah, it also touches on the fact of another major part of that was trust and who can you trust, and especially like towards the end with Stephanie and all that.
Yeah, with yeah. I couldn't blame Stephanie too much. Like, I don't know. I can kind of see where she's coming from or why she did certain things. I mean, if something in the group just wasn't going down the way that she wanted it and she wanted out. I mean, Russell did the same thing. Like, Russell had this group and he didn't like how things were being run, and he got out of there. He escaped. He essentially did the exact same thing that Stephanie did. So it's hard for me to completely blame Stephanie.
I had to disagree there because I had no remorse
for Stephanie
killing Stephanie.
You chose the gun.
Sorry?
You chose to shoot. You chose to shoot her.
The gun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because she was making off with most of the ammo.
That's
most
true.
Most of the medicine. Like, she's putting me in danger, my whole group in danger, my sister in danger. It was just so stupid.
That's a very valid point. No, you make a very good point.
Yeah, and you know how much I love rules and stuff like that. So, but this whole episode was, I loved it.
So if Stephanie decided to just leave without taking all that stuff, you would be less anti-Stephanie.
Yeah, totally.
Because if she doesn't like the rules, then she's free to leave.
Yeah.
Basically.
Kinda.
I mean, would you be like Roman? Because you said you were a lot like Roman. Like, I guess, would you have part of you worry that she might come back with other people?
But actually, she was my friend, Shell's friend.
She was Shell's friend, correct.
Yeah, so we know this person, so I don't think she would come back and raid the camp. That said, we thought we were friends, but she tried to make off with a lot of medicine and ammo.
Oh yeah.
So that must have been very superficial.
I don't think that Stephanie would purposely come back and raid, but I think that if she ends up with another group and someone asks her, do you know of any place we're running out of food? Do you know of any place where we could possibly get some food? She might mention, well, I have some friends who might help us out, and then
or even
And she could even say with the full intention, maybe they'll help us out, maybe they'll let us have some food, but then the group is like, no, forget it, we're just gonna take it from them instead. Like, that's a possibility.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah?
Now, keep in mind, this is just, I guess what I'm about to say is just a completely pandering hypothetical, but kind of going off of, I just want to get a gauge of how you would have responded to this, kind of following what they kind of did with Vince's story. Was if it was found out that Stephanie was trying to steal all the stuff, had she then come to you and was apologizing, saying that she was thinking of leaving and doing all this, and said that she was going to return, would you have forgiven her, or would you have gotten rid of her without trying to risk the fact that she might have done it again in the future?
No, I wouldn't. Nah, I won't let her go. The rules are there for a reason, and if we don't follow the rules, we don't stay alive. This is how it is. And I would appreciate the gesture of her talking to me, but that wouldn't make it right. So, yeah.
All right, sorry. I just want to see what
okay.
How about you, Kathleen?
I hated this decision so much. But I decided to shoot her because I realized that she's going to die anyways. Someone's going to shoot her, and leaving the camp isn't going to help. So I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess it would have helped not corrupt that girl by
Mm-hmm.
leaving the camp. But I decided to stay. But it was a decision that I didn't really like making, and I don't think I'm gonna like the repercussions of it.
I
So
actually, I actually ended up shooting her too. I actually did not leave the camp, mostly
Yeah.
because I was trying to think as Shell, doing whatever is best for her sister, and I
Mhm.
felt that at least at the time that my sister was safer at the camp than out in the wilderness with just the two of us. So
Mhm.
that was my
yeah.
reasoning behind the choices that I ended up making with that story. Which now brings us to the epilogue and Tavia and the
Yeah.
whole thing with Tavia's society and trying to recruit all these people. Um, One thing that I was thinking about is um, I'd like to believe that even if everyone but Bonnie stays at the camp, um, I'd like to believe that maybe you still can see them in season two. So,
Uh-huh.
like, I'd like to believe that just because I'd like to believe that the people that you meet in season two is not limited to the people who ended up going with Tavia, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Mhm. Do you think
Hopefully that.
they'll Do you think they'll appear as like dead corpses or walkers, like how
That's a
Doug
good
slash
question.
Carly did in 400 Days?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm hoping not, at least initially. Like, I'm hoping to
Mhm.
actually meet them alive.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I think somebody made a comment. I don't know if it was necessarily on my videos, but maybe somebody else's videos, saying that they don't know why people are assuming that going with Tavi is a good thing. People are like, maybe Tavi Society is another Crawford, maybe it's, just as corrupted, and maybe staying at camp was actually better for the group. You
Who knows? It
know,
could be. Who knows? It could be just like the St. John's all over again.
it could be. That's very true. Um,
But
what are your David? Are you buying into Tavia Society yourself, or what?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. They seem to be like a good-natured Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but moving forward, I think that either ones in the camp they are safe, or the ones outside the camp are safe. So if you like bring three characters with you to the camp, they might die,
Yeah.
and just like you said.
I think Tavia herself is a legit character.
Yeah.
okay.
In the very short time that we are controlling her, I actually ended up liking her a lot,
Hmm.
and I felt that she genuinely wants to help people, and she genuinely is anti crazy people, and I'd like to believe that if it was up to her, that their community would not be corrupt like Crawford's. But we'll
Hmm.
have to see, what that's, because I'm sure that the story is going to take us to that society at
Mm.
some point. But yeah, I mean, I ended up having the minimum number of people
Mhm.
go with Tavia. Only Bonnie went to Tavia for me, and that's only
Wow.
because I did not choose the options with Tavia that would have allowed three of the characters to join her. It just, it doesn't tell you outright how to get the characters to join you and override.
Mhm.
So,
I Yeah, because I was also able to get Russell Wyatt. Inadvertently, I didn't know that was actually how you do, but I actually ended up uh, engaging the override process
mhm.
or the dialogue, and Vince actually ended up joining her, which I think was because of the choice I made in his
Yeah,
story.
it was. Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that. So there you go. So Danny,
Yeah, I think that's the only way that Vince can join is purely due to the choice you make with his. Bonnie always goes, and then the other three, it depends on your choices, plus whatever you choose is Tavia.
yeah.
Um, so, going now into finally Walking Dead Season 2. Um,
Fun times.
Going into this story, my biggest worry is watching. You're playing as Clementine, I think the reviews have already released that Clementine's going to be the one that you're controlling as the main protagonist. My biggest worry is watching her transform, because she has to evolve and transform, watching the innocence leave this girl that I've taken care of all through season 1, and just having to having to make her do certain things that she has to do in order to survive. That's the part that I think I'm going to have the most difficulty with going through this season, is just watching Clementine not deteriorate, that's not the right word, but just I feel like you have to harden her throughout the story, and it's just going to be really difficult for me, sort of as a, she's not a little girl anymore, and she's growing up, and, she's...
Have they revealed... Because I know I was speculating that it might start up right when season 1 ended, but have the reviewers actually revealed anything of how much time is going to pass? Because we learned between episode 1 and 2, a lot of time can pass in between these things.
Based on the trailer, Clementine does look a little older than she did before, because I think when the game ends, she had just turned 9, and
she looks like she's 11 or 12 now.
She looks like she's at...
posters.
I feel like a couple of years at least had gone by. I could be wrong. Maybe they just changed up the art style a little bit so she looks older, but she's not actually older. I don't know. But I think I'm curious to find out how much of an effect your choices as Lee, like the way that Lee raised her, if that makes sense, how much that
imprinted on her, like
imprinted
her
on.
morals.
Yeah, I wonder if that will come into play at all, based with the way that Clementine behaves, autonomously without you controlling her throughout the story. If that makes sense.
Manure versus shit, things like that.
I wonder how much more vulnerable that will make the whole experience as well, playing as a little girl, and how much of the game we're going to be playing as a little girl. I think of like Bioshock 2 when you're playing as a little sister, how vulnerable that was.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a whole new experience than the first game.
Without giving anything major away, in The Last of Us, shifting control from a guy to a little girl, not a little girl, but a younger, more vulnerable girl than him, was a huge slap in the face, and I could feel the vulnerability in that scene, and I'm just wondering how that's going to translate in season 2 in this game.
And I'm just going to share with you guys just quickly is I'm getting more and more worried because when they released the poster of what she looks like now, I have a cousin that looks almost exactly like the way they're depicting her now. So I'm like, well, I guess now I have to deal with seeing that. Yeah.
How old is your cousin?
She's my cousin actually just gone to high school now herself.
Okay. So maybe a younger version.
I guess that's what I'm basing. Yes, that's what I'm also kind of basing off of age, what she kind of looks like to me. But
yeah,
I'm just gonna be worried because I'm gonna be seeing this girl who's. It'll be. I'm imagining it's gonna strengthen some connection if there wasn't already one.
Well, I think that I'm not sure. I think I have a hard time relating to her since I usually, like I said before, project my own morals into the character. And I'm not sure if I can do that as easily with a child as an adult. So I'm a little bit concerned.
I'm wondering, well, that's a good point. I actually question whether or not we're necessarily going to be controlling Clementine the entire time.
Yeah.
I think that many people assume that she's going to be the main protagonist for all 5 of the episodes, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. So
either way, I think it's gonna be hard for me to replace the role of Lee that I made in season 1. It's gonna be hard to do that, regardless.
Oh yeah. Who are some of the characters from season 1 that you thought would be cool to make another appearance in season 2? Now,
who else survived again?
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Who else survived again? There's not many
Lily,
left, I guess.
Lily's still out there.
Oh yeah, Lily's still alive.
Almeida and Krista, we think, are still alive.
The
Oh wait, what was the name of that Asian guy from episode 1 who ended up
Glenn.
taking off down? Glenn. Do you
Yeah,
think
he's
Glenn
from the
might
TV
make a
series and the
return?
comic.
Glenn's from the TV series and the comics, so
Oh,
I'm
nice.
not
Yeah.
sure if you'll necessarily run into him.
I actually want to see Vernon first of all,
Vernon.
and Molly.
Well,
Both of those.
if you remember from Shell's storyline, Vernon didn't make it. I think Vernon's dead.
Didn't?
Yeah, they said that's how we lost Vernon. They said we lost Vernon, so I'm assuming that meant that Vernon died. Unless
Yeah.
I'm misinterpreting,
Oh, I
we
didn't
lost
catch
Vernon.
that.
Boyd also died, right?
Boyd also died.
Okay, that was it.
Yeah. Molly would be.
Is that which one's the one that jumped after the person that fell? Didn't someone fall and then
Mm,
who was that?
That was Ben.
Ben.
yeah.
Is there any possibility that he could still be alive?
I don't think that Ben is still alive. However,
Yeah.
Robert Kirkman, I think it was Robert Kirkman, either him or one of the producers of Telltale Games did say in an interview that in season 2 you will find out Kenny's fate. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Kenny's alive. People are hoping that might mean he might be alive, but he specifically was like, about Kenny, you'll learn more about what happens to him in season 2.
Well, I'm looking forward to that then.
That's good.
So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe Kenny somehow did survive, because it has happened in the comics and the TV show before, where it looked like someone couldn't possibly have survived an onslaught of
enough.
zombies, and actually they did.
Fair
So
enough.
Yeah.
He could have used the same technique that Lee learned about in the end of episode 5.
true,
Yeah.
That's blood and all that. But
he could. There's a lot of. I'm sure that there's a lot of possibilities. So we'll just see what happens. Do you guys have any other predictions on season 2? Or wish lists for season 2?
I'd like to see 1 or 2 little tie-ins to maybe the TV show, since the TV show's been getting a lot popular. Like maybe have some not even like a big cameo, but like maybe some off-put mention of Rick or Shane or whatever like that, or Herschel or
Or
whatever,
Michonne.
or Michelle.
Michonne, yeah.
Michonne, yeah, sorry.
It would be nice if they alluded. If they didn't appear, yeah, you're right. If they alluded to them,
Just to help strengthen the fact that they are in the same universe.
yeah.
I was you first.
I was gonna see if David had anything to say about.
Yeah, I actually only have one prediction, and that is that I don't think everyone will make it.
Well, by
That's a
everyone, you
given.
mean what do you mean by everyone? Like, do you mean?
I don't think someone is going to die. That
Well, that's
I'm
a
sure.
given in this series.
I think that's a
Yeah.
given.
that we know and love.
Yeah,
So-
like the fact that Omid and possibly Krista are gonna appear actually worries me, because I'm like, if they're coming back, that means they can die.
Yeah.
Not that they wouldn't be able to die otherwise, but I'm like, if they're off camera, I feel like they're safer. If they're not, if they're off camera.
I predict that there's going to be a zombie somewhere. I think episode
Probably.
3 they're gonna sneak one in there, but I think that's
I
where
think
they're gonna
so. I don't know. I
surprise.
was thinking vampires actually.
Unicorns.
Maybe-
you
Maybe
know.
unicorns.
I was at I was actually talking with Chris. I forgot the name. Sorry, Kathleen and Dave about this. If there was, and for some reason I could actually see someone like Nate all of a sudden who could actually maybe make a really crazy remark about it, like if they made a really horrible off-put joke about Thriller for some reason. Like someone making like a joke where like some crazy guy is working, like Kathleen suggested that if like some crazy guy was working the hands of a zombie like a puppet as a joke, but as a sick joke played off by the fact that it was a sick person who was making the joke.
That would be amusing.
You could have a sick character, just have like a circus little festival, kind of like the Joker has.
Oh, that would
And
be
just
interesting.
have like different zombies dressed up in different outfits.
Oh,
I don't think
gosh.
it's really morbid.
Oh no, wait, no, but it could be kind of like how in Shell's story they actually repurposed some of the walkers as like guard dogs.
That's actually a really
Yeah.
interesting storyline. I actually
Will
don't
they actually?
using because most of the people when they do utilize the walkers, it's for, you're right, like security or guard dogs, but the
Mhm.
idea of utilizing them for entertainment purposes,
We get a little Shaun of the Dead action in on
which
this.
is entertainment purposes beyond beyond
Target
putting,
practice.
well, no, I meant beyond having them fight each other, having them fight
Mhm.
living people like in a
Mhm.
in a arena.
Mhm.
Um, but just like some sort of macabre circus sideshow.
Mhm.
That's interesting. I don't know if any of the Walking Dead stories has touched on that, but I feel like it would be a really interesting story to tell.
Sounds like something from BioShock, actually,
Hmm.
Cohen.
with the bunny
Cohen would
mask and
do
all.
something like that. I could
Which
see
actually,
Cohen doing that.
no, Angel Rush, you just brought that up. I could also see like a scenario where they run into maybe another like even more intense version of Crawford, where
Hmm.
they actually do have like an almost medieval style where they will put them in an arena almost like gladiator sort of thing, where they will put
Mm-hmm.
them in a big old circle area with a bunch of walkers and people watch that as entertainment.
That's an interesting thing about The Walking Dead is it's kind of a study of it almost is like people de-evolve
Mm-hmm.
through this type of environment. It's like they get into this almost primal stage of life. Like it's like we're back into the feudal ages really. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
From a mechanics point of view, I think that they started changing up some of the QuickTime, the way that the
Uh-huh.
QuickTime worked, not only in 400 Days, but also in The Wolf Among Us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that they will actually apply a lot of those to season two, so it's not just Q Q Q Q Q Q Q A. Like
Yeah.
most of the, which I didn't bother me, but I thought that some of the stuff that they did with those
Made it
other two
predictable.
games, well, I thought that some of the things that they did with the other two games uh, enhanced the experience, the QuickTime experience more. So,
All right.
Okay, I just have one question for everyone,
okay.
Mhm.
and that is, how did you react during the last scene of the season one, where you actually help Lee as Clementine, and then you have to make this terrible choice? Because I can honestly say that I cried like a baby during that whole scene. It was so emotional for me.
Yeah. I didn't cry because I don't typically cry. Like I think I've only cried in like maybe one or two games, but I was
Mhm.
very very close. Um, I the part that got me, I don't just that whole last scene really got to me. I definitely feel like it lingered with me for a while, you
Mm.
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
I felt like I had to do something happy after that.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. Like, I actually almost to a fault. Is like, yeah, it takes a lot for me to tear up and cry. Like, serious things have happened to my family and to things like that, and it takes a lot for me to tear up and break up and down and cry. So I think during the final moment, it was really just a big moment of silence when I was just thinking, no commentary. I was just thinking
Mm-hmm.
about what I was gonna do, and yeah, agreeing with Kathleen. After even after I made the choice and I was doing the whole signing off, whatever, and I just stopped recording and just said, I'm gonna go outside or do something now.
Yeah.
I
I
just
by default, I'm an extremely emotional person, and I've never been one of those guys who's like too macho to, who's too macho to cry or held back on
Mhm.
anything. Like I cry easily in movies and other things like that, and video games as well. Um, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think I ended up crying as much as I could have. I definitely teared up a lot at
Oh
that
yeah.
ending, but I didn't cry as much as I could have, only because I saw it coming. Because
Hmm.
Lee was already bitten at the end of episode 4. I pretty much, had the time during the 1 month between episode 4 and episode 5. I pretty much had the time to come to terms knowing Lee's gonna die in episode 5, and he's gonna leave Clementine alone. And I actually had an idea that at the end of this, Clementine's gonna be the one that has to shoot Lee. So I kind of saw this coming, and that's probably the only reason why I didn't end up tearing up as much, is because I had already prepared myself for the worst, and that essentially is what happened.
All right.
But I think like I said, episode 3. The only reason episode 3 hit me more is because Doug's or Carly's death was so shocking and sudden, and Katja's death to me was so shocking and sudden, and then Duck getting bitten was like, I didn't even have time for that to sink in.
It's just all one after the other.
It was all one after the other.
So
I think that, like, when it comes to actual amount of tears, I actually cried more tear-wise in episode 3. But I think that, just like Kathleen said, it lingered more. The sadness and the emotion that I had lingered more at the end of episode 5 than episode 3 for me. So, what were you going to say, by the way, Lucky Jack, when I was asking, did anyone else have anything?
This is just like a quick yay or nay thing we're talking about here is, so if anyone does not already know, Telltale Games has recently acquired the Game of Thrones IP.
Okay.
And have alluded to that they're going to make a Game of Thrones game, whether it's going to follow the same setup as Wolf Among Us or Walking Dead. I just was wondering if any of you guys were going to, again, since this is obviously a Walking Dead podcast, and I just want to just get a quick yay or nay of whether or not you guys would be interested in that game when it comes out.
Okay, well, for me, I have not gotten hooked into Game of Thrones yet. I'm trying to. The book hasn't hooked me yet. I've been reading the chapters, and it just hasn't been clicking for me. I've watched the first episode of the TV show, and to be perfectly honest, again, I wasn't hooked in yet. Yeah. But most likely, I'll still play the game anyway because it's Telltale, and because so far all the games that I've played of Telltale, I haven't been disappointed in. Including back before Telltale started having fame. Like I was very much big into Homestar Runner, for all of you who know who Homestar Runner is. And there was they came out with a game, Strong Bad's cool game for attractive people, but you can play too. I love the tagline. It's a cool game for attractive people, but you can play too. So
I love Strong Bad and the guys who did that.
I played that game and I really enjoyed it, and then because it was interesting that they were bringing back point and clicks, and then when I heard that The Walking Dead was coming out with a video game and it was really good, I didn't realize that it was the same company that made the Strong Bad video game, and so I'm actually thinking of also let's playing the Back to the Future one too, because I've heard that one was actually pretty good as well, especially if you're a Back to the Future fan. So
yeah. Kathleen?
I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones. It's gonna be interesting seeing Telltale's style mesh with Game of Thrones, because I feel like the comic book style in Game of Thrones, that'll be pretty interesting. So of course I'm gonna play it because I love Game of Thrones and I love Telltale games, so I'm going to.
Well, you know how Telltale is very anti-killing people off. So
yeah. See, yeah. So that does make
every
sense.
choice.
Yeah. There's a lot of death in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
David,
I'm totally. I read the first book like 10 years ago and I was hooked ever since. And if Telltale Games make a Game of Thrones game, I will play the heck out of that. Totally.
Nice. Me, and I guess I'll just finally add my thing, is I have not actually seen, again, a lot of Game of Thrones. I have all these lists of TV shows, like good shows I want to watch, like Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Dexter, up until season something or whatever, because everyone says it gets horrible after that point. Season 4, that's one that, yeah.
No, season 5. Season 4 is good. Season 5.
Yeah, that was fine. But there's all this stuff, and I know all the fact that, there's a lot of sex, violence. I saw a photo where someone took the Game of Thrones book and put little bookmarks for every single moment where someone got killed, and it's just a big old colorful array of tabs. But
wow.
I guess then I'm gonna say brand loyalty is gonna hook me with this one, where I'm gonna definitely play it just because it's Telltale Games and they have not really let me down with a game that they've made yet.
They tell a great story. They tell a great story. Cool. Well, I'll tell you what. If we all end up playing the game, maybe we can have a regular like discussion after each episode is sent out to just discuss that specific episode and talk about what we think will happen in the next episode. If you guys are up for that, so we'll see.
Sign me up.
That
Oh,
would be
yeah,
awesome.
I'd be cool with that.
What were you saying, Kathleen?
I was just saying that would be awesome.
Sweet. All right. Well, before we end, before we end, does anyone else have anything else to bring up before we move towards? Okay. What I want to do before we completely close is I wanted to give everybody a chance to talk about what's coming up next for their channel, in case they wanted to check out some of whatever you're bringing out in the future. If you have any plans to do anything with your channel in the immediate future that you're ready to talk about.
I'm currently playing the Battlefield 4 single player, which is really fun. And if you're interested in the Frostbite 3 engine that Dragon Age 3 will use, it's the same engine as Battlefield 4 uses.
Gotcha.
So, it's beautiful. And after that, I'll probably play some Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. So yeah, that's what's going on my channel.
Lucky Jack, do you have anything coming up or working on?
So I guess by this is already gonna be revealed. If anyone is gonna watch this, who's from my channel for it. I am gonna be uploading my whole Walking Dead and 400 Days Let's Play, so you'll be able to see what my actual reactions were. At the end of this week, as soon as my last final's out, I'm going. And I'm also planning one more side LP to go along with it, which is also a Steam PC game. I'm trying to keep that one under wraps. I will say it is a first-person shooter, because I want to see if I can Let's Play a first-person shooter game besides Metroid Prime. I want to see if I can do that. So those two things are going down, and yeah, support the VA Let's Play Earthbound. It's cool. If you haven't already checked it out, you should check it out. It's pretty fun.
Yes.
I have not been able to look at Earthbound the same way again. A guy the other day I saw playing, I was like, anyway.
How about you, Kathleen? I know you're very busy, but do you have any current plans or?
Right now, I'm trying to finish all of my papers for my finals, so I'm going to be done with that hopefully by this weekend, and then I can work again on projects. I'm doing a couple of silly videos, and I may possibly be doing another Walking Dead related character analysis.
Excellent. Is it a surprise or?
But I usually try to keep it secret until I actually do it, because it takes a lot of time to plan, and I don't want people getting their hopes up if I end up choosing something else. But yeah, so I'm gonna probably do another Walking Dead character analysis. I already did one of Lee Everett, so yeah, so that's probably in the future. And yeah.
Is it your goal to try to get as many character analysis of The Walking Dead as possible, or are you only planning a handful?
Well, I only just was really interested in doing this character in particular.
Okay.
I feel like I've only been doing one character from every game series, but this is more TV show related. So yeah.
Okay.
But I was pretty inspired after watching the mid-season finale of the TV show, so which I was having a marathon of last night. Me and my roommate stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning watching Walking Dead. So yeah,
I need to watch that show. Dang, it sounds so good. What, they up to 4 now? Season 4?
Yes. Yeah, they just finished season 4, and oh my gosh, that mid-season finale, which I'm not going to talk about, but oh my gosh.
My roommate was crying so bad, like I had to get out 2 packets of tissues. Their tears were everywhere.
So anyway, yeah, so thanks everybody out there who sat through, I don't know, almost an hour and a half, 2 hours of us just yapping away. I hope that you guys got something out of it. I hope that you found some of our discussion interesting and enlightening. Do any of you three have any last minute thoughts or comments to say before we end?
I should go.
Oh, that's
I had to.
Yes, I figured you would probably say that.
That moment.
Yeah. Yes,
That-
thanks for having us, Hawk.
Oh.
It was great fun.
For my first ever podcast thing going on, I've actually had a lot of fun. I look forward to the next one of these I get to do, and if not for that dang 3-month policy, I'm looking forward to doing playing Walking Dead Season 2, which I hope, if you've watched this whole thing, everyone who watched this, you also should check out that series if you haven't already. Otherwise, why would you have watched all this and not express some interest in it at the end?
Yes. It's my pleasure. Thank you guys for joining me on this, especially those of you who are calling in very late at night, David, in Sweden.
Hey, it's okay.
All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us. And until next time, love yourselves and love each other.
See ya.
Bye.